Good afternoon. This is the Board of County Commissioners meeting. It is Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023. It is 2 p.m. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. To my right is Vice Chair Ty Menser. To my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards. Also in the boardroom, we have County Manager Ramiro Chavez, as well as Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell and Assistant County Manager Rob Gelder, as well as the Clerk of the Board, Jamie Caldwell. I'm calling this meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Vice Chair Menser.
Okay, I see we have some scouts as a guest for today's meeting. I was wondering if our scoutmaster would like to lead us in the pledge. No, you can just start us off from where you are. Appreciate it.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, next, Vice Chair Menser, would you like to do a land acknowledgement, sir?
Yes, ma'am. We would also like to start today's meeting with the land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Indigenous Salish peoples whose elders and ancestors have lived on and cared for the land and waterways of this county since time immemorial, and who still inhabit the area today. Specifically, the Squaxin Island, Nisqually, and Chehalis people, our sovereign tribal partners. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. The purpose of this acknowledgement is to disrupt ongoing erasure of injustices done and to remember history as a stepping stone towards healing.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the Tuesday, August 22nd agenda. Are there any items commissioners would like to remove at this time from the agenda?
No, ma'am.
Nope.
Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve the proposed agenda for Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Next is an opportunity for the public to address the board. The Board of Thurston County Commissioners welcomes comments from the public. However, there are some guidelines governing such comments to ensure they are appropriate and do not take advantage of the fact that most meetings are televised. The general speaking guidelines are as follows. Please introduce yourself, including the address or reside in the county. Please address the board, not the audience or staff. Please silence your cell phones for those members in the boardroom. Speakers are limited to a total of 4 minutes to address the board. Meeting attendees cannot donate their speaking time to another person. No comments that are lewd and offensive, inflammatory, hateful, defamatory, or discriminatory in nature. Please be respectful. No outburst of any kind. No comments that are commercial in nature, such as promotion of a for-profit business. All materials provided to the county may be considered public records, subject to public release upon request pursuant to the Public Records Act, Chapter 4256 of the RCW. And no remarks about pending land use permits or similar matters that could eventually come before the board on appeal. Thank you for your cooperation. With that, I will go through those who have signed up on the sign-up sheet, and then I will see if there's anyone else who would like to provide public testimony if you did not get a chance to sign up, and then we will move on to Zoom.
We don't have anybody in Zoom, even the staff presenting items. Okay.
Okay. So with that, first person, John Pettit.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is John Pettit. I live at 9725 Rich Road Southeast, place commonly referred to as the Chutes River Ranch. I'm going to bring up a couple of small issues, well, a couple of issues, nothing small about it. But I appreciate this term, truth and acknowledgement of wrongful actions as a pathway to correct the future. So we need some truth and acknowledgement of certain things. One of the particular things I mentioned last week has to do with a state audit that's coming forward for the county regarding the REIT 1 account. As I expressed to you last week, based upon my calculations, you currently, besides being $1.2 million in the negative for a tax collecting account, which is against the rules for the state audit for the means of accounting, there's also, I sent you another piece of paper which indicates that there's an intention of paying a little less than $2 million more in bonds which is illegal to pay with REIT funds before the end of the year in December. So maybe we're going to be between $2 and $3 million negative balance because money has been chosen to be spent in a way which is not supposed to be. You know, I consider things differently than many people. I consider everything to have value. I'll use an example, a chair right here. Now that may have cost the county $80. But if you figured that what that really means is if somebody's earning $20 an hour, you use 4 hours of their life in order to be able to buy a chair. Now, going from 27 million, which you're already at, of wrongful expenditure, to add another 2 million plus to it suggests to me that $29 million, somebody needs to pay for that. And there's laws that provide for it. So I'm looking forward to that state audit. Another issue that's common with many people that I know, because they asked me to represent them, is the permitting process here in Thurston County. I sent you that we have a new state law regarding the amount of time it's supposed to take for a permit to be issued out, a final resolve on it. Now, the law says basically it's a total of 45 working days or up to 90 days total. I can tell you there's people here that have been working on things for a year and a half, 2 years, and haven't gotten through the permitting process. Now that's a liability for the county. Why? Because even if they were doing something 4 months ago and they would have got 3% interest, now they want to finance to build it, it'll be 7% interest. The county should be responsible for the additional cost of interest for these people's projects. It is unacceptable that you're not processing permits on a timely basis. It's unacceptable. You have, but this particular law, which would be the second substitute Senate Bill 5290, it makes it clear. I suggest you get your department corrected, get it so it's functioning and serving the people rather than playing God over the top of it. You are here to serve us and take care of our needs, not to delay us and abuse our rights and property rights. I also have someone here, which I've observed their situation about just wanting to do a small project. And a lot of things get messed up when you create false wetlands and such and mess up the process. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Vicki Lee.
Thank you. My name is Vicki Lee. I live at 5108 71st Way Northeast, Olympia. In 2018, our unanimous State Supreme Court Maytown ruling resulted in a $160 million Thurston County fiasco. The same culture of governmental overreach remains today. My husband and I own a lot within a large lot subdivision, which was approved in March of 1990, the subdivision. The environmental impact statement showed no wetland. A county road was built after the environmental impact statement as part of the development. We have applied for a building permit for a pole building. The county uses a 2022 aerial photo to assume as fact a substantial wetland, you can see it in this drawing, and a buffer on our property. This takes more than 3/4 of the property and shows a buffer larger than the county's automatically assigned 300-foot, all without notification or due process. According to the Thurston County Mapping website, quote, this data set showing wetland and colorization is intended for use as an indicator of the presence or absence of wetlands and has not been surveyed at the local level. The Department of Ecology charting system is ignored when automatically assigning a 300-foot buffer. It's an unconstitutional taking. We were forced to have a critical area report. The county will not make concessions, although authority is given. Are they looking to find or create a problem? The county incorrectly identified buildings and a swimming pool as non-conforming. The problem is the buildings were pre-existing and the pool is a fish pond. Our site plan is now conditionally approved, dependent upon our signing a notice to public. It's in deed form and does not apply to accessory buildings. That's per chapter 36 RCW. This is an overreach and must stop. We were required by the septic review to provide a record drawing when owners are not responsible per WAC rules. Further, it had to comply with current standards, although the laws are prospective only. The threat, non-compliance. Specialists were required. Early on, I requested the checklists used by the sections in examining applications. Do they really not have any? The county just sent us a bill. No accounting. No accounting, no accountability. It is completely upside down in attitude, in contradiction to the U.S. state constitutions, laws, and opinions. Our county is a perfect setup for a class action. Remember Maytown. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for listening, and I do hope you will exercise some corrective measures.
Thank you. And then you did talk to me beforehand
did.
that your husband couldn't be here.
Yes, in absentia.
And so you're going to read his statement. Okay,
will.
we'll reset. One
I will.
second.
Thank you. This is for Bob Lee, same address.
Could you repeat the address just to be clear on the
Yes,
record, please?
Exactly. You want me to repeat the address?
Yes, just so we're-
5108 71st Way Northeast, Olympia, Washington. Our land on 5.5 acres was managed by the Department of Natural Resources until clear cut and divided into lots. We bought one and began building in 1991. In January of 22, we submitted engineered drawings for a pole building with no water, toilet, heat, plumbing, or electricity. The location is on an unwatered flat ridge edged by trees we planted 30 years ago. 20 months later, no permit. For 35 years, that's my husband, worked as a nonpartisan exempt committee staff for the state Senate, drafting bills, researching, checking legal correctness, and drafting amendments for all members of the body. I assumed that the county staff knew the laws and would apply them with common sense. The building will not be connected to septic, and the site is located more than 120 feet of flat ground away. That is enough room for a row of houses. The operational permit is in effect, but the county has ensnared our system in their regulatory web. Requirements in an internal memo were insisted upon. 6 months and 2 experts later, it was confirmed no problem was found. This is an abuse of power. It gets worse. Over a year and a half with another division, we encountered more roadblocks. The building site is 290 feet from a small, isolated, seasonal wetland. We were told there's an automatic no-touch 300-foot buffer plus a 15-foot setback, basically a buffer. 2 pre-existing buildings and a 24-inch deep pond had to be removed. If we'd been gullible, they would have been torn down, although wrongfully demanded. It was obvious that the buffer would, at a maximum, be 140 feet, and 6 months and an expert later, it was confirmed. We were told that we only needed to conform the site plan and a permit would be issued. Not so fast. An additional requirement was added. An unrecognizable document with unknown future legal consequences must be signed, and we will have to pay an additional undisclosed amount. We do not sign unrecognizable documents, and neither should anyone else. It's no longer a mystery to me why the private sector is no longer able to build low-cost housing. Plus, please, sorry, streamline the process, remove the roadblocks, and issue our building permit. Thank you for the opportunity to provide this input. I have his longer statement. It had to be shortened to present. His longer statement in print, and I have a printed version of mine as well for you. And in addition to that, I have included in my packet, I'm an attorney also. In my packet, I have RCWs, WAC rules listed and so forth.
Okay, if you'll
Can we get
provide that
copies of your
information
statements?
to the
Can we
clerk
get
of the board.
copies?
Certainly.
Okay, next is, and then I'll wait for,
I'm not sure I have. The right one.
thank you.
Thank you.
And these
you.
have
Okay.
names on them.
Next is Amy Longmire.
Hello, my name is Amy Longmire, and I live in the Horizon Point neighborhood in Lacey. I am also a community health nurse for Thurston County's maternal child health program. I'm here with my team, part of my team, and we're taking time out of our workday in order to express our concerns to you. Thank you, Board Commissioners. We're here today as a group to represent the maternal child health staff of Thurston County. This includes administrative assistants, community health nurses, and outreach specialists. We would like to express to you the dire concerns we are facing in regards to recruitment and maintaining staff. We believe the situation is at a crisis level. We are supporting the community in the ways it needs or deserves. We are not supporting them in the way that they need or deserve. In the last few years, we have lost 15 nurses, 4 in the last few weeks. 3 of these recent nurses admitted leaving because of pay. They loved the job. They just couldn't afford it. Each time that we lose a nurse, we lose support for 25 families in our community. We currently have a wait list of 110 families, and it's growing every day. Each time we have to fill a position, it takes 9 months to train a new nurse for this job and to build up her caseload. Our supervisors have been unable to recruit for new nurses. Just recently, 4 applicants who were offered the job turned it down when they learned about the pay. The starting pay for a community health nurse in Thurston County is just $2,000 above poverty level for a single mother with 2 children. So single mothers need not apply. We are nurses who are required to have a baccalaureate level education and maintain a high number of hours in continuing education. Our work requires us to be experts in child development, perinatal health, maternal mental health, therapeutic communication, understanding adverse child events, and resource allocation, just to name a few. I've never worked with such a passionate and hardworking team of individuals who are dedicated to their mission to serve families in our community. We love our jobs, and most of us have taken a $20 to $30 an hour cut in pay, which is just really financially hard. We simply want to be able to keep up with the economy with our peers in other counties. Pierce County employees recently received 2 COLAs, at least one being 8%. County employees in Snohomish recently received an 8% and 2% COLA. We knew coming into public health that we would not make the same as inpatient nurses, but with the rising cost of groceries, mortgage, rent, property taxes, childcare, and utilities, we are losing staff at a debilitating rate and unable to recruit more. Since January, we have been holding our breaths and trying to hold on financially in the hopes that Thurston County would recognize the need for cost of living increases for their employees. This is not about demanding more money to fill our pockets, but about our ability to serve our most vulnerable families. We cannot afford to lose any more essential employees. The community needs us. We consider a fair cost of living increase for your employees. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, next is Terry Ballard.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Terry Ballard. I'm a 35-year veteran. I own 2 houses in Tanglewild and one in Olympia, and I'm running for Thurston County Commissioner District number 5. Yesterday, I was at a agriculture briefing, if you want to say it, and I have a couple issues with them. The timberlands, nobody wants, it sounds like the county doesn't want the timberland, but they have to go by the state. That's less rate of taxation, but you get your money back after they harvest the timber. Open space, agricultural farms. Okay, the zoning limit use of property for current and future are real limited. We had a lot of complaints yesterday of farms that were open space across the street. And this guy had been a farmer forever. His family was a farmer, but they won't let him convert to open space. It's ridiculous. He has to pay $20,000 a year in property tax, as the other people pay about 1/10 of that. Your arterial use, your residential and commercial split use, that exactly tells it what it is. And you guys now you limit the use of UGAs being three households per acre is for a UGA area, but now in the county we're into 1 per 5 acres, and now we're trying to go through for 1 through 20 acres. You guys are looking for affordable housing, really? You're limiting the number of spaces for residential housing, and you're telling us that you're working on housing, you're working on affordable housing. That sounds a little bit wrong. Now the wrong decisions sometimes can be intentional. You know, the 90-day process is something that you should have always had. The person that was here on the second, she had a problem of a fictional wetland, and your assessor over here is recording that as a wetland from the geomapping system, which is a false flag. I had that happen in Olympia. Exactly the same for Olympia, and they were throwing stormwater on my property without my permission, and I'm wrong to have them try to clean it up. Okay, so now we're getting into a group of people that want to come here and voice their opinion, but they weren't even contacted. But your group here says the group represented large farms. Well, the ones that seemed to be involved yesterday in the little briefing that we had, they weren't even involved, and they were the major landowners, especially in Boston Harbor. What's going on here? Who is going to tell you from the staff? The staff needs to tell you something. Then you need to verify that through your experts on the Thurston County Planning Commission, and then you make an informed decision. But right here, it was weird because I couldn't find it. Right here, you can't go down to staff. You can't go down to the person that's the expert because your manager limited you from doing it, and you signed the document to do it. And by the way, resolutions, all your resolutions, a lot of your resolutions are missing. You know, it's against the law not to have your documentation
Thank you, Mr. Ballard.
on it. So I'd suggest that you get processing law. Thank you.
Next is Vivian Eason.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Vivian Eason. I live at 10104 Albany Place Southwest in Rochester, Washington. And I'm here today just to talk about and confirm what Vicki and Bob have been going through. As I'm out and about meeting folks, I hear every day the same issues and stories. And if people were to come in here and all talk to you, you would be a full house every Tuesday because there's so much frustration out and about. And I think that a lot of it could be cleared up if we just had a clearer process in the permit center so that when you go in and you get a permit that you know exactly what you need to do. Because you'll hear stories of someone who'll go in and they are building a shop, for instance, and they're told they have to meet these requirements and they meet those requirements and they think, okay, now we're going to get our permit. And then it's like, oh, wait, we forgot we have this requirement, so it's wetlands and then it's the habitat conservation plan. And then one story I hear is they're finally through all that process and they've already spent thousands and thousands of dollars. I think he said 20,000 to get through to that process. And he's a professional. He's a friend of mine. He's a professional that was helping a friend build a shop. And he said all of a sudden they come out with, oh, wait, there is a protected bat colony close to here. So you have to do a study on a protected bat colony. Sorry, I didn't know we had protected bat colonies. That's a new one for me. And then another story I have out in Michigan Hill is a parcel that's 60 acres and two brothers are trying to split it into two 30-acre parcels. And their mother told me it's been like a year and a half and they have nothing yet. And so it's just every day it's kind of disheartening because I thought we were going to try and make it better. I thought we were going to online, but there's got to be a way that we can be very clear with people when they request a permit exactly what is going to be required for them. And it goes into being very transparent. And I guess that would be what I think we should look to improve along the way, is making it easier, because it's not that we have, I believe that we have good staff and I believe we have good managers. I'm not saying that. I think that there has to be a clear process. There has to be a better way for us to do business. But I also think that maybe you need to look at adding an ombudsman or somebody who's a go-between with the permit center and the citizens, because you guys aren't hearing these stories because you're not out and about as much as we are right now and getting the stories, or maybe you hang out with different groups, but it's like every day, and it's something that people are dealing with. I was talking to one person and just alone, the habitat conservation plan was $60,000 to build a house. And so I think that, when we were looking at that, when we had that public hearing, we were told that it'd be about 10,000, but we didn't know for sure. So I think you really need to look at that and how that's affecting affordable housing for our area. But I would just encourage that we look at better systems for our permit center and maybe add someone who can be the go-between to try to figure out why we're having some issues with our permits getting done in our county. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else in the boardroom who would like to provide public testimony at this time?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jesse Simmons. I'm the Government Affairs Director for Olympia Master Builders. We represent about 500 local home builders, and so I'm getting a lot of calls from my members that is similar to some of the testimony you've heard before me. But I want to bring the temperature back down. I want to bring it back to affordable housing because I know that we're in a housing crisis right now, and I'll just rattle off some of the stats. So in the past, historically, Thurston County has been one of the most egregious violators of the permitting process timelines. Statewide, the average is about 6.5 months. That adds $31,000 to the end cost of a home. Now, Thurston County at one point was 17 months, and we're not at that right now, and I hope we don't ever get back to that. And so I hope that we can work through this and bring that timeline down. But I also want to add that every $1,000 added to the end cost of a home prices 2,400 families out of a home. And so I've done all this research and looked up these numbers and everything, and the permitting process timelines is having a major effect on the end cost of housing. And if we're really geared towards fixing the housing crisis, we really need to fix the permitting process here in Thurston County. And now the good thing is, I do represent Olympia Master Builders and their 500 members. We have a lot of good ideas. If your staff or anybody wants to reach out to us, we are willing to help, give advice, or anything like that. And so, on a positive note, we definitely want to help fix the problem. So just let us know. That's all I got.
Anyone else in the boardroom? There's still no one.
Nobody in Zoom.
Okay, so that will end public testimony, and we will move to county manager's update.
I don't have any specific updates for you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any questions for the county manager at this time?
No question.
No? Okay. With that, we have a consent agenda, and there is one item. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve consent item 3A.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. The consent agenda is approved. Moving on to department items. First one from the Commissioner's Office. Item 4A is the Thurston County Internal Auditing Policy.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Robin Campbell, Assistant County Manager. This item is for your approval of an update to the county's policy regarding internal auditing. The county has a 3-member internal audit committee consisting of the county manager, the county auditor, and the county treasurer, who have oversight of an internal county auditor. The auditor's duties are to work with offices and departments within the county, reviewing their financial practices, contracts, and policies surrounding finance. This policy has been updated to include modern techniques and to more clearly outline the duties of the internal auditor. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you may have, but we do seek your approval this afternoon.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions at this time, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
No, ma'am.
No questions from me at this time. Thank you. With that, is there a motion?
I move to approve the resolution adopting the Thurston County Internal Auditing Policy.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Okay. Item 4B is the contract for federal government relations assistance.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. Again, Robin Campbell, Assistant County Manager. Before you this afternoon is a contract for a 4-month pilot program, contracting with Strategies 360, a firm that provides government relations to local government. The duties under this contract will be for Strategies 360 to work with the county, identify funding priorities, and then assist the county in understanding federal legislation and opportunities to obtain grants. The contract is for $20,000 plus expenses, and the board will be considering extending a budget for this contract into next biennium. And again, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
I guess I'd just like to clarify something that Robin said, and that is that we're thinking about doing that if it works out for the benefit of the taxpayers.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Menzer? No questions for me. I'm ready for a motion.
I move to waive competitive bidding for professional services under the County Procurement Policy, Section A9. approve the contract with Strategies 360 from September through December of 2023, and authorize the Assistant County Manager to sign the contract in the amount of $20,000 plus transportation and travel expenses.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Mentzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. From Community Planning and Economic Development, item 5A is to set a public hearing to issue to 5-member Board of County Commissioners Planning Commission amendments.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Jeremy Davis. I'm the Operations Manager for the Community Planning and Economic Development Department. And today I'm here to request the Board of County Commissioners set a public hearing to consider amendments to Chapter 2.04 of the Thurston County Code governing Thurston County's Planning Commission. As we all know, in 2024, Thurston County is transitioning to a 5-member Board of County Commissioners. And Thurston County needs to review and, if necessary, revise appointments to its boards and commissions and the apportionment of those boards and commissions as we move to the new 5-member Board of County Commissioners. The Thurston County Planning Commission is currently organized under state law, Chapter 3563 RCW Planning Commissions, and codified under, again, Chapter 2.04 of the Thurston County Code. The Planning Commission currently has 9 members, and each of them serving 6-year staggered terms. There must be at least 2 members who live in each commissioner district at the time of appointment, and 1 at-large appointment from each commissioner district. The ordinance goes through and realigns the Planning Commission apportionment and appointment process to the new 5-member Board of County Commissioner again. As proposed in the draft ordinance that would be for your consideration on September 19th, is retaining the 9-member Planning Commission, staying under RCW 3563 Planning Commissions for our operating law, and then reapportion the Planning Commission appointments as follows in the draft ordinance. If approved, we would have 1 member from each commissioner district that would be nominated by each county commissioner and then appointed by the entire board. We would have 4 at-large members. We would be changing the term of planning commissioners from 6 years to 4 years. We would rescind current appointments effective at the end of this year, and of course retain any commissioners till the end of this year whose terms may expire before then. And then current members, of course, would be encouraged to reapply for new positions on the new reconstituted and realigned Planning Commission. And as proposed, the board may begin the appointment process right after adoption of the draft ordinance with terms effective on January 1st, 2024. Again, it would be your option to begin that appointment process right after that ordinance. And that, of course, would include continuity of operations for the Planning Commission as we move into the new year for all current docket items. Staff is, of course, working on those docket items with the Planning Commission right now, and we'll make sure to accommodate any transitions in this process. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have this afternoon.
Questions? Commissioner Edwards.
No questions. We've had several discussion periods on this. Thank you.
Questions for Commissioner Mentzer?
I would maybe question and a little bit of information. I know we have some scouts here today who I think are here to learn something about government, but it's sort of a lot of things that we deal with are pretty dry. Because they've been worked out in advance and we're really just doing some approval of contracts and whatnot. This is a pretty interesting item though. It might be worth explaining a little bit more about what it's all about. All we're really doing today is setting a public hearing for people to come in and talk about this. But the thing that we're going to be talking about is a pretty significant thing. Maybe Jeremy, you could explain like what a planning commission is.
Sure.
What the point of it is and why it's important.
Sure. The Planning Commission plays a really important role in county government. The Planning Commission advises the Board of County Commissioners in the case of counties, or in the case of cities, city councils, on land use matters that may become before the board. Those land use matters include what zoning people may have, in other words, what they can do on their property, where they can do it, and how they can do it. As you may have heard in today's public testimony at the Board of County Commissioners meeting, this is important to all of our citizens in Thurston County. Land use plays a role in deciding how the county is going to grow, where people can live, what sort of businesses may come to the county, and where they may locate. It's key to our economic success and also to our citizens' economic success. The planning commissioners that serve on the County Planning Commission are volunteers. They're citizen volunteers that take their time out of their day, their regular day, to review all the various codes and ordinances, educate themselves on state laws and local laws so that they can do their duty for the county. Again, it's a vital role and important. If you ever get a chance in the future, be a planning commissioner.
Thank you, Jeremy. Yeah, it's we have a whole array of committees that citizens can volunteer and give us advice about things, but the planning commission is probably the most important in terms of dealing with the issues that, as you saw from today's public comment, people are the most interested in and have the most direct effect. So the reason we have to change it, it might have been buried in what Jeremy said, he did cover it, but there's 3 of us up here right now, we're gonna have 5 of us here in January, because the voters last November cast a vote and said that they'd like to have 5 commissioners, because we're a bigger county now. We crossed that 300,000 person threshold. And when a county gets to 300,000 people, the voters, if the commissioners put it on the ballot, which we did, the voters can say whether they'd like to have 5 commissioners, so they have more of us to talk to and more of our ears to listen and go out and learn about things and bring, issues to the discussion of the group. So voters said yes to that. And I'm not awesome at math, but 9 divided by 5 is a lot more difficult than 9 divided by 3. So we had 9 planning commissioners and 3 commissioners. That worked out pretty good. Each of us picked 3. But now we're gonna have 5 commissioners, so how do we do that, right? If we all pick 3, that's 15. We don't really want to have 15. So we decided on a new system where each commissioner will pick 1, and then we'll, as a group, pick the other 4. So we'll have, let's call that large. So in my district, there'll be 1 person that has to live in the area of Thurston County that I live, and 1 for Commissioner Mejia and 1 for Commissioner Edwards. We're all gonna represent different parts of the county. So then we'll get people from all over the county, a spread, and then we'll fill that in with maybe subject matter experts who know a lot about a particular issue that will, come up time and time again with the planning commission. So this is all getting ready for next year when we have 5 of us up here. So anyway, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could I add, could make a plug of volunteers? We're looking for volunteers to apply for the Fair Board. And if you're interested in be part of this wonderful event and the wonderful facilities that we have at the county fairgrounds, please consider it.
There's youth seats on the Fair Board.
Yes, there are.
Thank you. Okay, no questions for me. I'm ready for a motion.
Okay, I move to set a public hearing for September 19th, 2023 at 3:30 PM or as soon thereafter as the matter may be heard at 3000 Pacific Avenue, room 110, to take public testimony on a proposed ordinance amending chapter 204 of the Planning Commission Code.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I guess, yes, I would have just a little bit of a addition to what Commissioner Menzer said. As we move forward on these, we end up in a situation where we have these public hearings and then we make the final decision. So even though we've had several discussions about this leading up to it, we're not there yet. And so after that public hearing, then that's when we're gonna make a decision at some point. But that's the public's opportunity to come in and weigh in to what staff has put together. Does this make sense? Do you see any flaws? What do we need to do to make it better? So that's the goal, and that's why we're having the public hearing. And all these things require legal notices and has to be out certain timeframes and all that. So just further up on that civics class that you pointed out.
Thank you. And I guess what I'll say is, well, I was not in support of the proposed ordinance and how the new makeup of the planning commission is going to be. I understand that this is a public hearing and therefore it's going to be a place to accept public comment. And at that point, a final decision will take place. But I just kind of wanted to just be clear that, this is the majority of the board and I'm respectful of that. And the next step is to have a public hearing and have the public make their opinion heard. So,
We
That-
debated a couple different configurations.
Yeah. Okay. So, no further discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer,
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you. Okay, Public Works, item 6A is to set a public hearing for the 6-year Transportation Improvement Program for 2024 through 2029.
Can I have permission to address the audience?
Okay.
All right, don't listen to what Jeremy said. Do you guys like playing in dirt? No? You don't like playing dirt? You like building stuff? You want to be an engineer. You don't want to be a planner. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna ask for permission for, we've put together a list of projects that we're gonna complete in the next 6 years. And I'm gonna ask them to approve it. So let's see how well I do. So good afternoon. My name is Matt Unsman. I'm Thurston County Engineer. Public Works is requesting the Board of County Commissioners to set a date for the public hearing to consider public comment regarding the adoption of the 2024-2029 Transportation Improvement Program. The tip will be made available to all the local communities and community groups. Per statute, the 6-year transportation plan must be approved prior to the budget in November and December. As you know, the tip is a planning document which guides the transportation improvements for the next 6 years. If anybody wants additional information on this, we held a briefing on June 22nd, which is available on the YouTube site.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Edwards?
No, Matt's done a good job keeping us informed as this evolves. So, thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Questions? Commissioner
Matt,
Edwards?
you're saying that somebody could just go onto YouTube on the internet
And
and
learn.
just look at any of our meetings and just watch it and hear all the details?
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Almost every kind of meeting we have is recorded and posted online. So there's a few that aren't, that are more just conversation or spitballing, so to speak, but all the work sessions on issues are all laid out there for the public.
But the ones with Public Works are the best, so.
There's a lot of those.
Matt, can you talk a little bit about the Transportation Improvement Program and kind of what projects it includes?
So every year we go through a project planning phase where we're looking at what bridges in our community are the oldest, what bridges have the most traffic on them, what roads are susceptible to the pavement failing, what fish barriers are out there. Just basically, we're evaluating our infrastructure system to see what needs replaced. And then we have to prioritize it because we only have a certain amount of money. So we have to make some tough decisions, but we make those decisions, put them in the plan, and bring them to the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you. Okay, I am ready for a motion.
I move to set a public hearing for September 26th, 2023 at 3:30 PM or soon thereafter as the matter may be heard at 3000 Pacific Avenue Southeast, Room 110, to accept and consider public comments on the proposed 6-year Transportation Improvement Program for the calendar years 2024 to 2029.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Oh, man.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Okay, thank you, Matt. And moving on to the Sheriff's Office, 7A, request for proposal issuance awarding of contract for inmate employment services. Your Sheriff.
Morning, or good afternoon, I guess it is. We're requesting authority to put out a request for proposal for inmate employment services. Currently, we have a contract with Pacific Mountain, and that expires at the end of December. And so we want to put out an RFP and execute a contract with a successful bidder. They, part of what they do, the employment services for the corrections inmates, is that they help them write resumes, help them find jobs, help them learn how to write cover letters and just how to search out jobs and that kind of thing. So it's a thing for the, it's a service for the inmates to help them get back on their feet once they get out of being in custody.
Thank you so much. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
You've been doing this for years with
Yeah.
Pacific Mountain, haven't you?
It's been quite a while, yes. Yeah, several years.
No, no questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Questions, Commissioner Vincent?
Dave, is there a contract limit, like is there a kind of amount of services you want and you see who the lowest bidder is, or do you have a set amount that you have allocated for this program, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a set amount. We're gonna set out what it is that we're looking for in the contract, just as we have in years past. and then we'll look for the bidders to come in and choose it from there.
Okay. So we'll see that at a later time. Yeah, okay.
No questions for me. Okay, I am ready for a motion.
I move to approve the issuance of a request for proposal for inmate employment services for the Thurston County Corrections Facility and authorize the sheriff or his designee to execute a contract for inmate employment services for Thurston County Corrections Facility with the successful bidder.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Well, I guess maybe one more follow-up on that. The benefit here is to give these folks a second chance to be successful in our community and prevent recidivism. And in the end, it actually lowers our jail population when we're successful, and that saves money for the taxpayers. Thank you.
I would say that I echo Commissioner Edwards' comments, and taking it a little further, the Law and Justice Council, which I serve for Thurston County, had a presentation from the State Public Policy Institute a couple of years ago, and they looked at all the different kinds of programs you can do for criminally justice involved folks that landed in jail for whatever reason. All the different kinds of programming that you can do, and cost benefit analysis, like how much result do you get for the amount of dollars you spend, and the reentry. This is called reentry programming. It's helping folks that are there be successful when they get out, showed the biggest sort of bang for the buck, so to speak. So I'm always very supportive of reentry programming in our jail, and appreciate the Sheriff's Office to work on this with us.
Okay, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Mensah?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Okay. Moving on to our standing thank you, Under Sheriff Pearsall. Moving on to our standing items. Item 8A, Commissioners will report on board work sessions and assigned committee meetings, providing updates on actions taken as well as upcoming issues. Commissioner Edwards, we'll start with you.
I do think that I'm going to keep this relatively short. We didn't have anything substantial with the Thurston County Fire Commissioners, the Tenino Area Chamber of Commerce, Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Administrative Services Organization. But I did, or STEADY, that's South Thurston Economic Development Initiative. But I did meet with Judge Wilson out of Superior Court. She's the administrative judge. And had some pretty in-depth discussions about addressing jail overcrowding, the work release program, the electronic monitoring, and again, how best to keep the costs down in operating the jail. But one late evolving incident took me about 6 phone calls after our last meeting, and I did talk to adjoining property owners at on the property that we discussed today that was gonna go up for sale. And I say this for the scouts because we need to dispose of surplus properties once in a while, and so we want to get it back on the tax rolls. So the treasurer has been doing a great job in locating properties that are surplus properties, getting them back on the tax rolls by getting them out in the public domain again, and selling or auctioning or whatever it takes. So in this particular case, they had made arrangements for the sale of a property that was basically not worth much, you know, and the dollar amount might be attributed to the back taxes or cost that went along with it. But in the process of that discussion earlier today, we found out that, well, really maybe the adjoining property owners had not been officially notified that this was coming up for sale. So in the process of getting a hold of some of those property owners, it was found out that this property had went up for sale in 1958, and nobody bid on it in 1958. That's the last time. So the treasurer's being diligent, trying to get his job done, but how far back do you go? And so I talked to a property owner next door, said that he had been trying to get the county to sell that property for 30 years. And that in fact, 10 years ago, he was told by the property disposal person, who I do not have that name, although he says he's got a card to it for that person, And he was assured that should the property come up for disposal, he would be notified, and him and his neighbor were contemplating buying it. So today, we had quite a discussion about that particular topic. We as a board decided, well, we're gonna delay that a little bit, look into it, and to see what's fair to the public. And so now, I don't know the next steps. Treasurer will have to deal with that. If there's a couple other people that are interested, maybe we'll have an auction and get more money than we thought. But sometimes we find out that it's worth having some robust discussion, getting to the bottom of things. And so that's what happened on that issue, so more to come.
So 10 years ago, the county wasn't interested?
No, we've only been doing this property disposal for, what, the last?
We've been disposing of tax title properties for years.
Yeah.
But it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, the Board of County Commissioners delegated that process to the
There you go.
county treasurer. And he has been systematically disposing of those properties.
And he's doing a great job. He's getting it done, but this one, maybe we didn't get everything covered like we'd like, so.
Thank you. Okay, and thank you for making those phone calls. Commissioner Menzer.
Most of last week I was traveling with my family, but I did have a chance to connect with the council member in King County who is kind of taking the lead on their struggles with DNR and forest, legacy forests and forest management. Their focus is on climate change and whether DNR is really following the law in respect to doing the analysis they need to do about how they manage forests with respect to impacts on the climate. So that was something that Jefferson County did successfully. I think King County's picking up on that. And so I'm gonna be having a conversation with that council member about what he'd like to know what Thurston County's been doing and where we plug in. And so that could be a good conversation because King County is obviously a big player in all of this.
Thank you. I thought for a second you were gonna say the legislative steering committee, and I was gonna be like, oh, no. That's just my own. Okay, for me, I attended the South Thurston, the study meeting, the South Thurston Economic Development Council.
Chamber,
Chamber.
Tenino.
Yeah,
You were there
and then
too,
I
right?
attended the Tenino Chamber as well. The Regional Housing Council had their executive meeting, and so we will be having our meeting this Wednesday at 4 p.m.
4 p.m.
For anyone interested. I attended the Legislative Steering Committee for the Washington State Association of Counties, where we started kind of zoning down our new proposals for next year. Old proposals from last year are still on the table, so that is going to be discussed at our next meeting, which is going to be in Ellensburg. But some of the, I called the county manager with all the new proposals, but now I'm blanking on it. But there was an interesting proposal from Snohomish County, which I thought was very interesting. I would like to have more discussion with the board at a future date, maybe at Commissioners check-in, in which they were proposing next year, since there was a lot of contention at Legislative Steering Committee last year, and with King County saying that they're going to exit, to take the next legislative session to pick 2 issues to educate legislators, since there are a lot of brand new legislators coming in. They chose behavioral health and indigent defense, but with the lawsuit that the Washington State Association of Counties is going to file, maybe they thought indigent defense wasn't the best option, but maybe another issue that affects all 39 counties, and just focus on those 2 and just take that time to educate, instead of choosing all these different priorities and then it being split, and whether it affects just one side of the state, does it affect urban and rural, like just just the whole difference and just focus on two issues. And so I was very interested in that proposal. I felt like since it is such a short legislative session next year, and that maybe we could reach some common ground and get more work done, and trying to educate a lot of legislators. There's just, since it's just, I don't think there's gonna be a lot of contentious issues with such a short session and not a huge budget year, so we'll see where that conversation goes, but would like to hear kind of some feedback from commissioners at our commissioners check-in on that. I did a filming coffee with a commissioner with our emergency services director, Ben Miller Todd, and executive director for the Olympic Regional Air Council, Jeff Johnston. And we did it on fire safety as well as smoke safety. And that will be hopefully posted on our YouTube channel soon. Okay, and then for intercity transit, we did a follow-up with the zero emissions conversation. There was a workshop in July, and so we just had kind of a follow-up conversation on that. There's gonna be more conversations as we move forward. That workshop was attended by Rebecca Harvey, our climate mitigation manager, and she took great notes on that since it was when I was in San Diego for homeless court. So it was just great to kind of hear, just hearing her thoughts and then kind of coming in, hearing everyone's thoughts on it and where they were aligned. So there's going to be more conversations on where intercity transit moves in the coming years. And that is all I have to report. Next, the county manager will review the Board of County Commissioners schedule for the week of August 22nd, 2023.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. If I can take just a minute, maybe to the benefit of the Boy Scouts who are visiting us today. As you can see, the three Board of County Commissioners today, this is a public meeting. This has been announced. And as you may don't know, but each individual commissioners cannot have a conversation with each other if it's not announced to the public. And that is by state law. So it is our responsibility to make sure every time that at least two commissioners have a conversation, we need to announce to the public as to when they're gonna be meeting, where they're gonna be meeting, and what is the subject they're gonna be discussing. So moving it to 5 commissioners, they may be a little bit different because 2 commissioners can talk and that will not create a quorum, which is gonna be benefiting the conversation a little bit more. But also there is some restrictions because we cannot get into what we call chain meetings. So there is a lot of nuances on this, and that's what I do. Some of the things that I do at the end of every meeting on Tuesday is to walk through the upcoming schedule where at least 2 commissioners will be present on those meetings. And the schedule we always post online, and the public knows exactly where at least 2 commissioners will be present on any given day of the week. So beginning today, after this meeting at 3:30 in the afternoon, we'll have a public hearing that is related to, they will consider objections to the proposed role in rates and charges to the Offutt Lake Management District, number 24. Tomorrow, Wednesday, August 23rd at 9 in the morning, they have a briefing related to procurement and the IT policy. 2 in the afternoon tomorrow, the board has a briefing related to agricultural zoning update, part of the CPA 16. That is an item within the code, and that is related to the community review and agricultural issues. 3 in the afternoon tomorrow, August 23rd, they have a briefing related to the septic site-specific land use plan and rezoning amendment. And following at 3:30 by a briefing, this is a follow-up issue on the wireless briefing, which the board has been discussing the wireless matter for quite some time right now. Thursday, August 24, 9 in the morning, is a briefing related to the Solid Waste Advisory Committee membership. 9:30, August 24, there is a public hearing follow-up related to the Olympia Joint Plan update. 10 in the morning, August 24, but they have the regular commissioners check-in, and that agenda has been posted way in advance. And 6 in the afternoon, Thursday, August 24, we have a joint meeting with the Lacey City Council in this room. And the Board of County Commissioners tend to have a joint meetings with other city councils, and that is a good way to build relationships among the elected officials because we have common objectives, as you can imagine. Friday, August 25th, we have a ribbon cutting ceremony done, and they're going to be on site on the Highway 12, Sergeant Road in Rochester, and that will be on site. Moving to next week, Monday, August 28, 9 in the morning, the board has a briefing related to the voting center and funding briefing. And then from 10 to 2 in the afternoon, we have a Board of County Commissioners staff retreat, which is going to be held in this room. And then we'll go back to the regular schedule, Tuesday, August 29 in the morning at 9:15 is regular agenda setting, reviewing the agenda of the afternoon meeting as well as the following week. And then 2 in the afternoon, August 29, the board has the regular board meeting as like is the one today.
Thank you. Questions?
No questions, thank you.
I'm sorry, County Manager, I probably misheard you, but the Lacey City Council joint meeting has been canceled, correct?
No, is the Olympia meeting that you and I were going to
Okay. So
tonight.
I
has been
apologize.
canceled.
I thought
The
I heard
Lacey
it.
City Council is still on.
Okay,
We removed one of the agenda items and we change it. but
okay,
It's still on.
thank you.
I think the what was canceled, you and I were going to the Olympia City Council tonight. That has been
Yeah,
canceled.
no, I'd heard that the Lacey one got canceled as well, so.
Oh,
I just-
my apologies.
okay. Okay, so with that, it is 3:06 at 3:30. We will be having a public hearing to hear objections to the proposed roll of rates and charges for Offutt Lake Management District Number 24. So we'll go ahead and adjourn for now, and we will be picking up at 3:30 and the same Zoom link, Thank you.